When you think of a hippo, what comes to mind? Probably a big, kind of lazy, water-loving giant, right? Maybe yawning in a river somewhere. But what if I told you that whole picture we have in our heads is, well, it's dangerously wrong? Today, we're going to dive into the surprising, pretty complex, and honestly, the deadly truth about one of Africa's most famous animals.
So, let's just start with a quick question to get us going. If you had to take a guess, what is Africa's deadliest large land mammal? You might think the lion, the elephant, maybe a Cape buffalo? Just take a second. The answer is probably not what you think. You're looking at it. The answer is the hippopotamus. That's right. This animal we think of as a gentle giant is actually responsible for more human deaths in Africa than any other large animal. And that one fact, it just flips the whole script on how we should be thinking about them.
So, how did we get this so wrong? Well, that brings us to the great myth of the hippo. I mean, we see them in cartoons, we see them in nature documentaries, and they almost always come across as these docile, kind of goofy, oversized plant eaters. And look, scientifically, they are classified as mega herbivores. Their entire system, their gut, their grazing habits, it's all built around eating a ton of grass. And for the longest time, that was pretty much the whole story. But as we're about to find out, there is a much, much darker and more complicated side to the hippo.
So, the first clue that these animals are way more complex than they look, well, it actually lies in their bathroom habits. It turns out their dung is a critical part of this bizarre and surprisingly aggressive social network they've got going on.
To really get this, we need to know what a dung midden is. It's basically a communal toilet, a big pile of dung that animals keep coming back to. But it's not just a toilet, it's also a territorial marker. You can think of it like a giant, really smelly billboard. And for hippos, this is the center of their social world. And how they use these billboards is something else. It's a ritual called dung showering. A dominant bull will back up to the pile, let everything go at once, and then use its tail like a propeller to spray it everywhere. It's messy, it stinks, but it's sending a powerful message. This is my turf, I'm the boss. This is not the behavior of a simple herbivore. This is highly territorial and super aggressive. And all that aggression, it's not just for show, it actually extends to their diet, which brings us to the most shocking part of the hippo's story. They're carnivores. And no, this isn't just a rumor or some one-off observation. A paper in a journal called Mammal Review puts it very clearly. They say that eating meat is, and I'm quoting here, an inherent characteristic of hippo behavior. It's not an accident. It's a fundamental part of what it means to be a hippo. And the way they do it is just incredible. Hippos have been seen actively hunting other animals. They've been documented stealing kills from predators like crocodiles. They'll scavenge on dead animals they find. And get this, they even practice cannibalism, eating the bodies of other dead hippos. They aren't just taking a little bite by accident. They are active meat eaters when the opportunity comes up. So, this aggressive, carnivorous nature, it puts them in direct competition with the other top predator of the African river, the Nile crocodile. And in this clash of titans, you might be surprised who usually comes out on top. In the water, these two are the main contenders. And yes, sometimes they can hang out peacefully, but their relationship is often full of tension, and sometimes just outright violence, especially when there's food on the line. Now, you might think the hippo is the victim in these fights, but that's not usually the case. More often than not, the hippo is the aggressor. They use their enormous size and those incredibly powerful jaws to bully crocodiles and drive them away from a meal. Sure, a crocodile might take a shot at a weak or a baby hippo, but a healthy adult hippo, that's more than a match for any croc. And that brings us to their most famous feature, that huge yawn. It's not a yawn. It's not a sign that they're sleepy. It is a threat display. They are opening their mouths to show off those massive, deadly teeth, a clear warning to crocodiles or anyone else to back the heck off. It's basically a promise of violence. So when you have an animal that's this territorial, this aggressive, and this unpredictable, it's pretty much inevitable that it's going to lead to conflict. And when hippos and humans have to share the same space, the consequences can be absolutely devastating. To see what this looks like, let's zoom in on a specific place, Lake Kariba in Zimbabwe.
Here, shrinking habitats and more people living and working on the lake have created a real flashpoint for human-wildlife conflict, and the hippo is right at the center of it all. According to the local communities, the people who actually live there, hippos are one of the top 3 most problematic animals. They're right up there with elephants and crocodiles. They account for a full quarter of all major conflicts. That is a huge number. And the grim reality of those conflicts becomes crystal clear when you just look at the data. We're not talking about minor problems here. We are talking about direct attacks that kill people and injure people. And on top of that, they destroy livelihoods by flipping over and smashing the fishing boats that entire communities depend on just to survive. The numbers themselves are stark, but this quote, this is from a 25-year-old survivor, it just puts a human face on all of this. An attack isn't just a single event, it's a life-altering catastrophe. It can leave victims physically disabled, unable to work, and trapped in poverty. And what makes this all so much worse is that the people living with this constant threat feel completely abandoned. A staggering 80% of the community rate the official response to these attacks as poor. They feel like their lives are being valued less than the animals that are attacking them. Which leaves us with a deeply uncomfortable question. Look, the hippo is a magnificent, fascinating, complex animal. It absolutely deserves our protection. But for the people who live alongside it, it is a clear and present danger. And this forces us to confront the core dilemma of modern conservation. When the needs of wildlife and the safety of human beings collide, how on earth do we navigate that impossible choice?